In the heart of North Africa, where the sun scorches the golden sands and the Nile winds like a living vein through desolate lands, there once stood an empire of impossible grandeur, ancient Egypt, a civilization that endured for over 3,000 years, leaving behind marvels that still defy the limits of human imagination: towering pyramids, intricately painted tombs, temples carved from solid stone. These were not merely structures. They were spiritual fortresses designed to protect the souls of the dead and bridge the world of the living and the divine. And among the greatest of those buried, beneath the desert sands, were the Pharaohs, god-kings whose every breath, decree, and death was tied to eternity. But hidden within their tombs, alongside golden treasures and sacred scrolls, were ominous warnings. Warnings that whispered through the ages of curses. Curses powerful enough, it was said, to strike down those who dared disturb the eternal sleep of a king. But are these stories grounded in reality? Are the so-called curses of the Pharaohs truly supernatural? Or are they elaborate myths woven through fear, coincidence, and cultural fascination? Let us travel back in time to the Valley of the Kings, 1922. The sun rises over Luxor. British archaeologist Howard Carter, after years of fruitless digging and mounting pressure, finally uncovers a set of steps carved into the bedrock. These steps lead him and his patron, Lord Carnarvon, to a sealed doorway. Behind that door lies something the world has never seen before: the untouched tomb of the boy king, Tutankhamun. What they discover inside is beyond belief. Chambers stacked floor to ceiling with gold, thrones, statues, chariots, and the most iconic burial mask in history, the face of a young pharaoh rendered in solid gold and precious stones. It is a discovery that electrifies the world and ignites Egyptomania like never before. But then, something strange begins to happen. Only a few months after the tomb is opened, Lord Carnarvon dies unexpectedly. His cause of death? An infected mosquito bite, but the circumstances seem eerily coincidental. The story spreads like wildfire. A newspaper reports that just as Carnarvon died, the lights in Cairo flickered and went out. His dog, back in England, reportedly held and dropped dead the very same moment. Then another man connected to the excavation dies. Then another. Rumors of a curse begin to grow. A chilling phrase is said to have been inscribed in the tomb: "Death shall come on swift wings to those who disturb the king's peace." Although modern scholars have debated whether that inscription actually existed in the tomb, the idea is powerful. The public believes it. Over the next decade, more than a dozen individuals associated with the Tutankhamun discovery die prematurely, some by illness, others by accident. One man, Carter's personal secretary, is found dead in bed, smothered, with no clear cause. His father, overcome with grief, jumps to his death from a London building. Each of these events feeds the flames of a growing myth, the curse of the Pharaohs. But is this truly the wrath of ancient kings? Or the perfect storm of media hysteria, fear, and coincidence? To answer that, we must understand how ancient Egyptians viewed death. In Egyptian belief, death was not the end, it was a transition. The tomb was not a grave, it was a sacred temple, filled with offerings, protective spells, and divine guardians meant to shield the spirit from harm. Disturbing a tomb was a spiritual violation, a threat to the eternal journey of the soul. To protect their kings, Egyptian priests employed magic, symbols, and even written threats, some of which historians today classify as early forms of curses. These were not necessarily meant to summon doom, but to scare thieves and grave robbers into staying away. But belief has power. When a person believes they are cursed, their body can react in extreme ways: increased stress, anxiety, paranoia, and even death. It's called the nocebo effect. the evil twin of the placebo. Could this explain the so-called curse? Let's also consider the science. In 1999, German researchers tested air samples taken from inside sealed Egyptian tombs and found spores of deadly molds such as Aspergillus niger and Aspergillus flavus, which can be fatal, particularly to those with weakened immune systems. Other experts suggest radon gas, a radioactive element that builds up in underground spaces, might be the silent killer. Inhaling radon over long periods can lead to respiratory issues and even cancer. Tombs sealed for thousands of years become pressure chambers for ancient biohazards. Still, even after these findings, the mystery remains. Carter himself, the man who spent the most time inside Tutankhamun's tomb, lived for another 16 years and died peacefully. Could the curse have simply missed him? Or is the randomness of these deaths part of what keeps the myth alive? The 1920s were also a time of spiritualism. Seances, ghosts, and communication with the dead were trending in Western culture. Combined with the mystique of Egypt, the idea of an ancient curse fit perfectly into the imagination of a public craving the divine, supernatural. Hollywood caught on quickly. Films like The Mummy in 1932 brought the myth to life. A bandaged corpse rising from the grave to take revenge became a trope in global cinema. Pop culture twisted an ancient fear into entertainment. But let's not forget ancient curses. While mythologized today, were deadly serious in their time. Egyptian tombs often included carvings invoking gods like Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the dead, or Osiris, the god of resurrection. Their images weren't mere decoration. They were spiritual warnings. One tomb reads, "He who disturbs the peace of the Pharaoh shall be devoured by crocodiles, lions, and serpents." Another claims, "His heart shall stop and his limbs shall tremble until death claims him." Whether poetic or literal, these warnings serve a clear purpose: psychological warfare. Even today, archaeologists like Dr. Zahi Hawass into strange occurrences inside tombs. Lights flicker, batteries die, cameras